Hello, my name is Tenzin Legtsok. I'm here to introduce the Exploring Buddhism program that I'll start teaching in a few months in collaboration with Ocean of Compassion Center in San Jose and Vajrapani Institute in Boulder Creek. So I actually had the good fortune to help develop this course about 5 years ago, together with Geshe Tenzin Namdak and Joan Nicell. And the aim of the course was to, within FPMT, there's many excellent educational programs, but many students found it's quite difficult to make the jump from the introduction level, discovering Buddhism, which gives a good basic introduction to most aspects of especially the practice aspects of the Buddhist path, and to make the jump from that program to the basic program, which goes in depth into traditional Buddhist philosophical texts. So this course, Exploring Buddhism, is meant to bridge that gap and build upon the practice aspects, like the understanding of death and impermanence, how to develop compassion, the understanding of one's own mind and past and future lives, to build upon the practice aspects, but also give a gentle introduction to some of the significant concepts and ideas and methodology to study Buddhist philosophy in a more traditional way, right? But it's important to remember, I mean, every aspect of Buddhist philosophy, it's never just an intellectual exercise. Every aspect of it should be relatable to one's own personal experience and help develop one as a more happy, whole, and mature human being. So for myself, that's why, I mean, I've spent over 20 years now here in India studying Buddhism with Tibetan masters like His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, Lama Lundrup, not to mention my own teachers at the monastery in South India. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to coming back to the United States and offering back some of the knowledge and experience I've gained here in India. I was born in Virginia, and then but never heard of Buddhism until I went to college in Ohio in the what is it, early 1990s. And then but when I learned about Buddhism in college, I was immediately struck by just the kind of the the infinite possibilities that meditation and exploring one's own mind and learning how more what's happening in one's own mind on different levels, and then learning how to shift one's attention to reduce worry, anxiety, fear, and to increase a sense of stability and sense of being in tune with what's happening around oneself and being in touch with who one really wants to be as a person. Um, so then I went to I at yeah about a few years after college, I decided to come to Asia to study more about meditation so I could teach it to others, and thereby others could benefit in ways I'd also benefited. Um, but when I met Tibetan Buddhism in Nepal and India, I was especially struck by the depth of explanation and the openness to questioning and skepticism and kind of challenging the ideas that I heard. And then also by the incredible compassion of the teachers I met, and the idea that's taught in Tibetan Buddhism, that every sentient being has a potential for full enlightenment. And the best thing we can do with our lives is to cultivate our own potential for full enlightenment in order to be of greater service to other sentient beings. So yeah, that's the motivation behind this course. Um, and so it's really for students that already have a good basic understanding of the Buddhist teachings as presented in a course like Discovering Buddhism, but want to go more in depth in understanding, yeah, and more sophistication and with more logical rigor what the Buddha taught, and why, for example, the Buddha taught that it's possible to be free from suffering. It's possible to be fully enlightened. I mean, those are nice ideas, but if we don't really understand the logical underpinning of those, then it doesn't really go very deep in our mind, and it just remains like a bit of a flimsy aspiration, if it's one we have. So yeah, so this course is open for people who have already some basic understanding of Buddhism, not a lot, but want to engage with Buddhist teachings in a more kind of rigorous way, but not in a way that's kind of overwhelming. That might be overwhelming for some when you look at a full Buddhist text like Bodhicharyavatara or the Abhisamayalankara or something like that. So in the first year, we'll cover just 3 modules. there's a total of 8 modules in the course that will cover over 3 years. And the first module will just cover in quite a relaxed way, three modules. So the first module will cover over 12 weeks, is exploring the mind. And we look at things like, what's a conceptual consciousness versus a non-conceptual consciousness? What's a valid cognizer, an incontrovertible or totally stable way of knowing something versus just a belief that doesn't really have a stable underpinning, or a wrong idea? And how do we explore? And then especially in that course, how do we distinguish between emotions and thoughts that disturb our minds versus thoughts and emotions that are peace, that bring more peace and well-being to our minds? Learn how to reduce disturbing emotions and how to increase positive emotions. So that's exploring the mind. We'll cover over 12 weeks. So that's exploring the mind. We'll cover over 12 weeks. And then we'll over the next 12 weeks, we'll cover, exploring the fundamentals of logic and debate, which is quite new. It hasn't been taught much before in the West, but it's very popular these days among many Buddhist students. So basically, we take the basics of logic. It's the same as in Western logic, Buddhist logic. The structure is the same. For example, you take a syllogism like Socrates is mortal because he's a man. Any a proof statement like that. So we learn to understand the basics of logic and using proof statements. And then learn what are correct reasons versus incorrect reasons, and then use that understanding to analyze assertions made by the Buddha. All phenomena are dependent arisings. No, so for example, all phenomena are empty of existing from their own side because they're dependent arisings, right? So, or liberation from suffering is possible because the root cause of suffering is a wrong consciousness. So basically, we use this understanding of logic and reasoning to interrogate our own beliefs, and also to interrogate statements made by others, and then especially in the context of the spiritual traditions, that in the context of the spiritual path, then different aspects of what's possible or not possible for a human being and how to progress on a spiritual path in a very logical way. So it's probably a bit uncommon to Buddhism, though, that among the different religious traditions, that we're encouraged to bring such skepticism and a logical approach to the spiritual path, right? You don't see that in most of the other religious traditions. And that's actually one reason that Buddhism can engage with contemporary science with such ease. And so one part of this course also is to bring in research from contemplative neuroscience, from psychology, especially positive psychology, and compare, modern developments in the scientific understanding of what makes us happy as a person and what brings suffering to the mind as a person, and see how that's both been informed and also informs the Buddhist approach to, becoming a more whole, happy human being. And then the third module we'll cover in the first year is called Exploring the Path, where we'll look at kind of the entire path to enlightenment as practiced by one individual, beginning with how to correctly rely upon a spiritual teacher, and then understanding how samsara works, and then especially engaging in the 6 perfections, the perfection of generosity, pure morality, and then cultivating the perfection of meditative concentration and especially wisdom, realizing emptiness. So we'll do a 7-day retreat. Is it 7 days or 10 days? 7.
I think it's 8, Saturday through Saturday.
8 days. Okay. So then we'll do an 8-day retreat on that module, Exploring the Path at Vajrapani Institute. And that'll be very nice, intensive kind of 8 days of teachings and meditation together. So that'll be the third module for the year.